I bet so messy. Okay, I think I'm online. Yay! Guys, I need to take some water and use the bathroom to be very honest. So I will wait like 2 more minutes just to people to come in. Spread the news that this live is happening. Today we're going to talk about how to um, have your first violin, where you buy it, how can you have one, is buying the only option, what can you do to find what you need on the first violin, and I'm doing QA at the end. So if you're interested in learning, please send this away, okay? I'm going to grab some water and I will be right back. Okay, back. Where's my water? Let's see. Okay, here we are. Yeah, so first of all, have a good night, good morning, good evening. I don't know which time you're watching this. So, just to give you guys a heads up, the first live stream I'm doing of a project that I'm starting today. Yay! And it's about teaching violin online for free. So today I'm going to talk something really important, how to have your first violin, um, where you can buy it or whatever you can do to have your first violin, what you need to do, what's important to have in your violin and everything else. And the idea is to do a live stream like this every Monday, 4:30 p.m. my time, which is Mountain Daylight Time. Okay, so right now it's 4:37 p.m. here. And why Monday 4:37? Because I am a master's student and all the other times are already like booked for something. Okay, so this is the time I have available. And if you cannot um, watch the live stream when I'm live streaming, which will be not so cool because I cannot interact with you guys and because you cannot ask me questions if you have any. You can watch it after. I will let the recording both on Twitch and YouTube. So now I'm Twitching and YouTubing this content. Okay, so if you prefer one of those, you're free to move from one to another. Okay. Also, hi to Kitty7 and Zeman on Twitch. Yeah. So okay, let's start. Um, Hope you're doing well. I am doing great. Thank you for asking, Kitty. And yeah, that's it. Okay, let's start. So, let's talk about first of all, why do you need a violin for learning violin? I know that like at the beginning it can sound like really obvious. Like for some people, like I need a violin because I'm learning violin. But for some people it can be like, I really need a violin, you know. Um there is like any other option, a cheaper option, something like that. And the answer is a little bit complex. So if you're an adult, I will say to you, yeah, you need a violin, okay, and a 4/4 size one. We are going to talk more about that in a little bit, so don't worry about that. But if you're children, especially when you're like, if you want your son, your daughter to learn the violin, and they're like 7 years old, 4 years old, it's not a really good idea to start with the violin because as you may know, violin is not the cheapest thing on earth, and it's very common to children to let the instrument fall on the floor, and if that happens, most likely it's gonna break. That means that you're going to repair that, and it's not going to be cheap. Sometimes it's cheaper to buy another instrument. So for small children, there is um, like wooden objects that imitate the violin, because the first things we need to learn when we have our instruments in hands is posture. So how you're going to stand, how you're going to hold the bow, how you're going to hold the violin. Okay, so one of the next lessons are going to be how to hold the bow, and you don't need a bow to start learning to how to hold the bow. Okay, we can use a pencil or a pen or a marker. Anything like that will be useful. Okay, but if you're an adult, you're not going to let your instrument fall that easily, I hope. So yeah, I do recommend you to have a violin, because it does make a difference. Like, the feeling is different. We have all the setup things that makes a huge difference. So if you have the opportunity to buy an instrument, okay, or rent it or whatever, we're going to talk about that too. But yeah, it's important because the feeling is different, okay, and everything else. If you have a viola in your place or whatever, and you want to learn the violin, or the opposite, which is more common, you have a violin at home or you have access to a violin, and you want to learn the viola, how to play the viola, yeah, you can learn on those instruments instead on the beginning, but you will need to change to the instrument that you really want to learn at some point. Okay, because the responses of the violin and the viola are different, so there is like small things there that are going to be different, but posture wise is basically the same thing. Okay, the difference that because the viola is bigger, it's heavier, and it's a little bit more uncomfortable to play the viola. Okay, yeah, so that's why we do need a violin, unless you're 5 years, 7 years old who are just starting. Then I really, really recommend you to have a box instead of the violin, because it's important to learn how to hold the instrument and not let it drop when you're practicing. Okay, please let me know if this sounds okay, if you guys are having any trouble to understand, if my internet connection is good. And yeah, I need some water. And also, I hope I'm not speaking too fast. And again, if you have any questions, you can write them down. At the end, I'm going to do a question and answer section so that we can take that subject away. Okay? Well, the next point I wanted to talk about is, you might know there's tons of different prices of instruments, of violins out there. So you can go for Stradivarius, for example, that can cost $1 million or thousands of millions of dollars. It's like crazy. Or you can have like a really cheap instrument for like $50, $100, something like that. Okay, I say it's 50 based on Brazil. I do not know which is the cheapest instrument here. I was doing a quick research here minutes ago, and I found something around 100. So we have this big range. And there is this known thing that the more expensive something is, the better it is, right? First of all, not necessarily. Okay, we do have a lot of cases of really good instruments that are cheaper than others. That's like, I'll say good, but not that good. So it's not like really rule. You need to like evaluate both instruments, because each instrument is an instrument, in the meaning that there is no two instruments, two violins that are the same. There's always some difference, okay? Because they're made out of wood, so like the part of the wood of the tree that was taken might have a little bit more density than the other one, so it always changes. Okay, so yeah, so there is like these differences from instrument to the instrument. And for a beginner, which is our case here, it really doesn't matter to have a great instrument like a Stradivarius or something like that. Of course, if you do have access to such instrument, it will benefit you, okay? But on the beginning, you don't really need that much of an instrument, okay? It will make a lot of difference after a little bit of time. But as I told you a little bit in the beginning of this live stream, at the beginning of the process, we are going to learn how to stand. We're going to learn how to hold the instrument. We are going to learn how to move our muscles to play the first notes, how to open strings, all this kind of stuff. So at the beginning, you need mechanics first. So having a great instrument that responds in a like really fast, etc., is not a priority. Okay, I'm trying to make Twitch a little bit better position. Sorry, guys, the sun there is like killing me because I'm like, it's not a really good angle. I got really annoyed by this right now. So let me try to fix this. Give me a second, please. Okay, I'm sorry I'm putting it in front of the camera. Is this going to be better? Please tell me it's going to be better. That's some nuts, by the way. Come on, stay still. Go up. Oh, the camera's here. Okay. Just looking for the camera. Stay still. Oh my God, it won't stay. Okay, better. I think it's a little better. Okay. So yeah, so you don't need necessarily a really expensive instrument. Okay, the important part is that the instrument is working properly. Okay, and we are going to talk about what it means to have an instrument that's working properly in a few minutes. Okay, now it's better. Yeah, so violin that's working properly is very important. Okay, now let's get into the core, not the core, but like beginning to get into the core of this live stream. So you know already that you do need a violin to learn the violin unless you're 5 years old, and you don't need a very expensive violin to learn the violin. So where can I find a violin to buy? So there is tons of options nowadays. Like if you just Google violin, like it's probably going to show up some people selling things or like buy violin, something like that. But you also like, and I made a research on this to make sure that you guys would find a violin on these websites. So eBay sells violins, Amazon sells violins, Mercado Libre or Mercado Livre if you're a Portuguese speaker, they do sell violins. I don't think there is this website in America, but yeah, you can enter and see like which countries do they um, uh, sell to. Another one that there is not in America, but there is in Brazil and like 16 countries, if I'm not mistaken, is OLX. Okay. In Portuguese, we call it OLX. Okay. So, yeah, you can find there like used instruments, new instruments. Okay. Which, by the way, it doesn't matter. You can either have a used violin or a new violin to begin, okay? And to those of you who think that new violins are better, not necessarily. We do have really well-known, really old violins, like older than you and your father just together, that are like really good, okay? So not necessarily old is good, but not necessarily new is good. So it depends. Again, everything depends. Yeah. So OLX or OLX is another option. Okay, I do know that you can find good deals there. AliExpress also sells violins. Okay, and you can go to online music shops as well. I know one violin music shop that is functioning in Brazil. Okay, I do not know if they sell to other countries. You can search for them. Okay, it's HPG Musical. Okay, again, HPG Musical. Okay, the great advantage of this shop is that they already deliver to you an instrument that's ready to you to learn. You don't need to do anything else to start learning. Okay, and right now your head's like popping a million of questions, like, what do you mean, which other things? And calm down, drink a little bit of water, we are going to get there. Okay, but yeah, that's what I can tell about this shop, HPG Musical. Okay, they do have a great service too, and if you're a Brazilian, they deliver to the entire country. Okay, and it's well protected, and you're going to receive your instrument and be ready to play. Okay, again, I do not know if they deliver to other countries, but you can also see if your country has a music shop that delivers the instrument uh, with the basic necessities done by a luthier. Okay, luthier. Yeah, so you can also go onto the website to Google and see if your city has music shops, like in-person music shops. Okay, and search on their websites too. I know that in Brazil we do have a really well-known music shop in the capital, Brasilia, called Musimed, and they do have violins to sell, a bunch of them. There is other shops in the city too, okay, and there is like other shops in other cities too. So depends of your city, okay. If you're living in America, we do have Robertson&Sons, okay, Robert&Sons violin shop at Albuquerque, which is the city that I'm living at, okay. And they do deliver, I think they do deliver for the whole country too. Okay, I'm not sure if they make the same adjustments thing that HPG does, but you can get in touch with them and ask them for it, because they do have good luthiers working on the shop. And if you ask that, I'm pretty sure they're going to deliver you a great instrument to you to start with. Okay, we do have a question on Twitch from Zeman. When I look at violins, you'll have 3 4 4 4. What does this mean? We are going to achieve that point right now, actually. Okay. Actually, not right now. In a second, because I forgot to talk about one thing. So, buying a violin is not your only option. Okay. So if you're low in money, you don't have $100 to spend on a violin. By the way, 100 was like the lowest price I saw today. I think was on Amazon, either Amazon or eBay. But if you don't have that money to invest now on a violin, you can rent a violin, for example. I do know Robertson's rent instruments, okay, and it's a good option because it's cheaper. And sometimes you can rent for, I think they have, I do know they do have monthly plan. I do not know if they have like year or like semester plans, but it will be cheaper. And the good thing about this is that you're using the violin for a beginner, and you can save money to buy a better violin once you're more advanced. okay? Otherwise, you will need to sell that instrument and buy another one, this kind of thing, okay? And another option is also to borrow instruments. So let's say your neighbor has a violin that he never used. It's like a family thing, to have that violin, and you really want to learn the violin, but you don't have the violin. So you can come to him and like, hey, could I borrow your instrument? Maybe he will rent you the instrument. I don't know. So shops are not the only option to rent to. You can rent from people. Yeah, but you can like come to friends, to neighbors, your violin teacher in your town, something like that, and borrow an instrument too. Okay, that's an option. If you're there is some um, companies or universities who can borrow instruments too. It depends a little bit more. I know UNM borrows instruments to their students. I'm one of those students who have a borrowed violin. Okay, I do have my instrument, but I'm borrowing one that's better from university to have better learning process during my master's degree. Okay, so you can buy, you can rent, you can borrow a violin. The important part here is to have an instrument to start learning, okay? Or if you're a child, 7-year child or something like that, which is not my field of teaching really much, to buy a box violin to learn how to position yourself first and develop the first muscles thing, okay? And then after a little bit, change to proper violin, let's put it that way, okay? So, okay, now that I know that I do need a violin, that I don't need an expensive violin, and where to find a violin, if you have any questions on that point, please write down here and I will do my best to let you with no questions in your head, okay? So, what do I need on a violin? So the first point is exactly Simon's question. So when you go to a website, to a shop or something, you're going to see numbers of the violin, like 3 and a thing like that, and 4, or 4 4, or 1 2, something like that. That means the size of the violin. Okay? So a violin for an adult is, unless you're like a dwarf, it's always 4/4. Okay, because that's the full size violin. Sometimes it can be reading full size too. Okay, so if you're an adult, it's gonna be 4/4. Okay, but if you're children or if you're a child like growing up, something like that, 4/4 size might be too big for you. That's why we have the other numbers. Okay, so 1 2, half violins, half the size. We do have a 3/4, which is between the full size and half size. We have an 8th, we have a 16th, we have a 32 size. It's like tiny little violins for like really small children, okay, to learn how to play the violin. So if you're an adult, average size 4/4, okay. But if you're not big, tall, and you're not sure if you should take, first of all, the size of your fingers and your hands. If you have a really, really tiny, tiny hand, you might want to like see another option, like a 3/4 size violin, or a violin that it's just smaller, but it's not a 3/4 size. Okay, but mainly if you put your violin on your shoulder and at a shop, they're going to help you with that. Okay, and actually, let me take my violin to explain this because it's going to be easier to understand. I'll be right back. Okay, so I do have my violin here. This is a 4/4 size violin. Okay, it's a full size violin. It's from the University of New Mexico. I'm borrowing it to learn. Okay, so if you put your violin here on your left side, okay, over your shoulders, we are going to learn how to position the violin better in the next lesson, okay? But the point is, you just put it against your neck, touching your neck, okay? and then you put your hand like this, open your arm, okay? The violin needs to be on, like the end of the violin needs to be on your wrist, okay? Uh, if yours much high changing size of violin, when it passes from this line here, like the second line of your wrist, then it's time to change the size to a bigger one, okay? But you can go to shops. They're going to say that if they're on your palm, you should change already to a bigger size, which is not my belief because this is a little uncomfortable because you're going to like hold it here. So you're going, like if I have my violin on my palm, it will be this big, so it's going to be heavier to my arm. Okay, so as you can see, it takes on my wrist. My palm is completely outside of the violin. It's a great size because when I put my violin here, it's a comfortable setup. Okay, so that's how to know the size of the instrument for you. Okay, again, if you're adult, average size, uh, just buy 4/4. Okay, no mistakes. And of course, you might ask, oh, but I have 2.5. I'm 2.5 meters tall. I do not know how much that in feet. I'm sorry, Brazilian here. It don't really matter. You're going to play things more easily, and some things going to be more hard for you, but like harder for you. But it's a 4/4 size, a full size. That's the bigger violin we have. Okay, if you really want to play something bigger than that, consider going to viola. Okay. Yeah, but that's basically it. If you're an adult, which is people I like the most to teach, 4/4 is the type of violin that will suit you the best. Okay, unless again you're really tiny, but that don't usually happens. But you might be an exception, so consider that wrist thing. Okay. Um. Oh, I forgot to add that thing here. Thank you for asking, Zima. Do brand names matter for violin? If you're advanced students, yeah, they do. If you're a beginner, no, it doesn't. Okay, of course, there's like some violins that are really, 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 really bad. But when you're like really beginning, again, you can start with a box instead of a violin, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. Um, what it matters is like the points that I'm going to talk uh, further a little bit of like the violin being well, um, being functioning well. Okay, but but be careful with fake instruments. Okay, let me tell you guys a story. So I was back in Brazil an hour, a year and a half ago, and I was going to start teaching this student, and she wanted to buy a violin, and I told her basically what I'm telling you guys here. She opted to buy from Mercado Libre, and she got a deal of a violin that costed her 400 reais, which is around $80 more or less, because real is like 5 to 1 to dollar. So $1 buys 5 and something reais. Yeah, so just you to have an idea, it wasn't like the cheapest thing ever, but you know, it's not one of the most expensive ones. It was like actually one of the most cheap instruments that I saw. And like she showed me pictures. I was like helping her like, to buy the violin and everything, and it looked a really good instrument. Everything looked to be in place. It looked to be not cracked or anything like that, because if it's cracked, you need to fix that before, and it's going to cost you money. So make sure that you look for those details. Okay, and yeah, so she ordered the violin. I think like it was when I got COVID. That was 2020. So she lived in the same city that I did, and she wanted me like to adjust the violin, like because it came like in pieces, so you needed like to put everything in place. You do have the option to buy without needing to do that. I will recommend that. Okay, so she wanted me to do that. But the violin arrived, and when she told me a week after the violin arrived, I had COVID because my brother got COVID. I brought him to the hospital, and on that day I got COVID from him. So I need to pass like 14 days at home, completely, like more at home than I was at home, but like making sure that I wasn't like even like getting out of the door to not spread the disease to other people. So of course I didn't want to see her at all. So after that, it took me around another week to us to like finally get the opportunity to see each other, and she gave me the violin, because she was never home when I was like working or something like that. And um yeah, so I got her violin, and I was like trying to put the pieces in the place, and the violin started like I felt that the violin was kind of weird, and I was like, what's happening? So I was like looking to the violin and everything, and the pegs, which are these things here, these black things, they weren't like really scrolling. The micro tuners, I just have one here, they weren't like tuning at all, and I was like, my god, what's happening with this violin? Then I turned the violin this way, and I could see under the fingerboard, which is this black piece of wood here, and it had some axes, like X shape, like here, and I was like, what? Why? It's plastic. It was made of plastic. And then I started to like really watch the violin like close to my face, and I realized that the whole instrument was plastic. And she bought it with the guy saying to her that it was wood instrument. So be careful with those people, please. Okay, you need a violin that's made of wood. Okay, because of sound, because of tuning. A plastic instrument won't tune at all. Okay, violins, cellos, violas, double bass are made of wood. Okay, it's a like thing that they plant trees and like wait years and years the wood to dry to have the better sound. Okay, so unless you're playing electrical violin, which I have no idea what they're made of, you need a wood instrument. Okay, make sure it is wood. Okay, and it was, I hate the person who sold her that violin so much, because I am a professional violinist and I couldn't tell the difference by the pictures. And he was saying that it was a wood instrument, like was saying like written wood instrument. And to not say that I'm bad, my luthier. Oh wait. Okay, we are back. Something happened and the live stream of Twitch just dropped. So yeah, we are back. Okay. It's probably the internet. Sorry about that. But okay, so to don't say that I'm a bad instrumentist or something like that. My luthier, who is the person who likes take care of my instruments, if it breaks, I bring to him and etc. He saw the pictures and he couldn't tell that it was plastic, because like they drew all the lines of the wood on that plastic violin. Okay, but that won't help you to learn the violin. I mean, for posture, yeah, it really works great. But as soon as you need to start playing, which don't take a lot of time, it's crap. So make sure it's not plastic instrument, it's a wood instrument. Okay? Yeah. Other than that, oh my god, I will need my instrument again. I will need to take my instrument back there again. You need a bow with good hair. Okay, let me grab my bow and I will tell you what I mean by that. Okay, I'll be right back. Give me a second. I should take the whole case actually. Okay, so jumping a little bit ahead of the planning of the lessons, but it's important. This is the bow of the violin, okay? And this white thing here is the hair, okay? Why it's called the hair? Because it's actually hair of horses, okay? We do like people who sell that like have horses that are well treated just for this, and they are usually from really cold countries, and it's male horses, not female horses, because of urine. Okay, and they take care of that horses to have a really good quality hair. Okay, and that hair of those horses come to our bow. Okay, and so far we haven't found any other option that sounds better than hair. Okay, so what do I mean by good hair? First of all, it needs to be kind of new. So you can see that this hair, even though I'm using it for like 6 months, it's still white, right? If the hair gets really old, it starts to get yellow. Can you see the difference? I'll put them like this and see the difference. So the hair of the top is good, the hair of the bottom is bad. Okay, this is one thing. Okay, the age of the hair. Second thing, the hair needs to have grip. Okay, that's another reason why you want a new hair. Okay, of course there is like different tones of white, so make sure that it has a good grip. Okay, after you pass the rosin, which we're going to talk in a little bit, if you pass on the string, it needs to play easily. Okay, if you don't have a good hair, the sound won't be. Um, it will like do a little bit of this sound. Let me see if I can. Show you guys, not this one. I think this one's not that old. Yeah, but anyway, it's better to have a new hair. And really important, the so this uh, part here, it's called the screw. Okay, and it needs to be functioning really well. Okay, because if it's not, you're going to spoil your bow really fast. What I mean by that is that your bow needs to have this shape. Okay, can you see that the middle is lower than the tip and this part? So this needs to happen in order to us to produce sound. Okay, if you're a little curious and you ever saw a Baroque bow, you probably saw that it's like the opposite shape. But it like that shape really works for Baroque music, but like for classical and especially romantic music, it doesn't work. We need this bow with this shape, and the shape makes a huge difference on sound. Okay, so what I mean by spoiling the bow is you need to unscrew the screw of the bow every time after you finish practicing, so that the hair will be loose. Okay, and to show you guys it's actually hair. So as you can see, this is a screw. We're going to go through this later in another class. Okay, it's not focusing. And here you have the hair. Okay, so what the screw does is like tightening and losing the hair. Okay, so you want to make sure that the hair is loose, not this loose, but it's loose when you keep your instrument. Okay, because if you keep your hair tight the whole time, it's going to change the shape of the wood. So the wood will stop being like that and will start to get like straight. And that's really bad, okay, because you will spoil your bow won't function properly anymore. And you either need to fix your bow or buy a new one. If like for beginner bows, usually buying a new one is cheaper, which is not cheap. So make sure that this piece is functioning well, and that when you tight your bow, like you can achieve a point that the bow gets straight, okay, but also that your hair is tight when um, your wood is not flat. And, okay, you still have the shape, but you can feel that it has some it's holding, okay, the I don't know how to explain this. uh, if the hair is too loose, or like you tight the whole thing and the hair touches the wood easily, it's going to be bad. Okay, so you need a little bit of like thickness of the hair to the bow to like function and be able to produce sound. Otherwise the wood will touch the string when you're playing. That's not good. Okay, so we want to have a point that we tie the bow, that the hair is not touching the wood easily, but also the wood doesn't lost its shape. Okay, so we need it to be like this. Okay, important things to add on that is that if you're traveling or you're ordering a violin from a very humid place to a very dry place, or the opposite, it's going to make a huge difference on this. Okay, so right now I'm not being able to like lose my bow very well because Albuquerque is way more humid than it used to be. So that means there is a lot more, of course, water in the air, and the wood absorbs the water. Okay, so it's going to take a time, like until it's dry, it stops raining, to like release all the water, and then I need to do the opposite work of like having something to make sure that my instrument's not going to be to crack so easily. Okay, that's not mandatory. Okay, because it doesn't break that easily, especially if you're like on the same city and you have like basic hairs with your instrument, which we are going to talk about on the next uh, live stream. It won't crack that easily. Okay, but anyway, it's good to like know those things to make sure that you're not going to spoil your instrument without knowing it. Okay, so I think I made clear what it means to have a bow with good hair. Um, let's talk about rosin. So the rosin, let me take mine here so that you guys can see. So this is my rosin, the one I'm using right now. Okay, you do not need these ones specifically. You can have whatever rosin you have on your violin, but it's important to your violin to come with rosin. Why? The rosin is the rock, let's put it that way, that we pass on our bow before we play to make sure that it has grip. Okay, so it does look like a rock, little rock. Okay, it breaks really easily, so make sure when you have yours to not let it drop, to not drop it on the floor, because it is going to break. Okay, it's really, if you're like beat it harder, it's going to break. Okay, so it's important to to you to like make sure that your violin comes with one rosin, okay? Otherwise, you won't be able to play. Another story. So, if you follow me long enough, you probably know that was my dream to play the violin since I was 5 years old. But my city didn't have music teachers at all. So I started learning music from my dad, who was a musician by hobby. And he started teaching me. So he plays the cello, but he doesn't know how to play the violin. So he couldn't teach me the violin. So he started teaching me music theory, piano, flute, how to sing, blah, blah, a lot of other things. So I passed like from 5 to 14 years old without learning the violin, even though I wanted to, because we didn't have a teacher. Okay. And then before 14 years old, we moved to another city. We came to know these people, which are friends of my family until today. And their daughter had a violin at home. And you can imagine how happy was I to finally have a violin in front of me. I was like, I want to play it. I don't care. I want to make a sound out of it. So we were like watching some videos on YouTube of people playing, like how is she called? Oh, I forgot. A violinist playing songs, and we were trying to copy how they hold the violin and everything else. And of course, by watching my dad play the cello, I could kind of tell how I was supposed to pull the bow. Not exactly, because it's really different, but I had a better idea than if you have never seen anyone like playing or something similar. So I put the instrument on my shoulder on the correct side. I put the bow on the string. I pull the bow, and no sounds come off at all. It was like, instead of a noise, instead of like a horrible noise, instead of a cat buying, that joke that like violins on the beginning sounds like cat when you're putting their tail, they're really angry. Yeah, that didn't came out. It was like nothing. I remember I was destroyed. I was like, this is not for me. I don't have the ability enough to learn the violin, because I can't even make a poor sound out of these. Turns out, years later, that I discovered that the reason why we couldn't take any sound out of the instrument was because we didn't knew we needed to pass the rosin on the bow. So it didn't have any grip. So it was like passing oily thing over a string. So to have like a better image on your head, do you know when you have a lot of oil on highway and you're passing with a car, and for some reason you brake and you lost control and the car just goes like this, have no control? That's the bow on the string without any rosin. Okay, so the rosin makes sure that connection, that grip happens, so that the hair is going to pull the string and you're going to produce sound. Okay. Oh, how expensive can the bow be? Usually when you buy the violin, it comes with the bow and with the things that I'm talking here. Okay, so I'm just adding these points to make sure that those things are coming with the instrument. Okay, but bows are another thing that can go fancy with prices. Okay, I should let the questions to the end instead of jumping. Because I want to do a question and answers at the end, so I'm going to probably respond these again at the end and respond to the questions, okay? But keep writing them. If you have a question, I prefer you to write it. I come back and read them, okay? I don't have much people watching me anyway, so I can't do that right now. Yeah. So yeah, make sure that your violin comes with rosin, so you're able to produce sound when we're going to learn how to do that. Okay, another thing that I consider essential is to have a cloth specifically for your instrument, okay, to clean it. So my cloth, where is it? Was here. Well, my cloth right now is really dirty because I was changing the strings of my violin the other day, and it can get really, really dirty. So yeah, so get one of those. Oh, this one's from. Oh no, never mind. I thought it was from Robertson&Sons, but it's not. Um, get one of those specifically for your violin. Okay, don't use it to like on your face or to clean, your table or something like that, because you don't want any oil to go to your instrument. Okay, you want a clean cloth for your violin. Okay, and make sure you're using this every single time you finish playing your instrument. So you use it to clean your instrument, you use it to clean your bowl, and you put everything on the case, you close it, and you're good for the day. Okay, I am going to talk about that on a future live stream. Okay, basic cares about the violin, that's a topic that we're going to check. Okay, but make sure you have one of those. Okay, these might not come with the instrument. Okay, but you can separate like something that's made of cotton. If you have like a really good soft touch, it's better. Okay, if it's really hard, it can like damage your instrument. Okay, you can have one of those too, like microfiber cloths. Okay, there is another one that I used to use in the past to clean my instrument, but it had like um size that I thought was good to like use as a shoulder rest, so I'm using it as a shoulder rest. Let me take this. So this is another option. You can see that's kind of similar to the blue one, but yeah, it's microfiber, so this also uh, cleans the instrument pretty well. Okay, I'm going to talk about this in advance because it's really important. You don't need anything to learn to clean your instrument other than a cloth. You don't need alcohol, you don't need oil, you need nothing, just the cloth, dry, not water. Okay, so only one of these to clean your instrument, really important. Okay, this will make sure that you have a better instrument for longer. It's going to sound better long term, and it's good to take good care of the instrument that you love so much and you want to learn so much. Okay, so have one of those. I really like this one because the touch is really soft. Okay, yeah, and again, soft touch means that you're not damaging, like risking your instrument, which is great. Okay. Okay, so clove done. Set of strings. I really hope that no one out there sells a violin without strings, but that can happen, and more common than that. Sometimes it's actually really common to strings to break, and we want to make sure that we have 4 strings, okay, and not like random strings, but G, D, A, and E, or E, the first string, A, the second string, D, the third string, and G, the fourth and lower string. Okay, Vida, got it. I will make sure I have strings, but which string should I buy? And that's another rabbit hole, because again, um, you can buy, when you're starting, you can buy the cheapest one that functions properly. Okay, I'm going to talk about that in a second. But if you have more money to invest, if you want to have a better violin with a better quality string, strings is something that follows better. The higher the price, the better the quality, but it also depends of your instrument in a more complicated level. But right now we need an instrument, a string that functions, that won't like make your life to learn the basics harder. How to know that? So if you're buying from a good shop like Robertson&Sons and HPG Musical, I'm pretty sure they're going to send you the instrument with good strings. Okay, but if you're buying second-handed or borrowing it, you probably need to buy random strings. Let's put it like that. I am not like I don't know all the strings that are available for violin, like all the brands. But I can tell you, like this E string is really good and really cheap. Westminster is a brand of E strings that, like this 26 one. See the 26? It's really good. It's $5 each one. Okay, so strings are not the most cheap thing ever, but they're really good, and cheap too. So instead of paying like $15 or $20 on an E string, you're going to pay $5.50 in case of these at Robertson's. Um, Online it can be more expensive. I found $11 for this one online. Okay, but the thing is, because of physics. So I do recommend this one. Okay, that's my point with this. For the other strings, physics applies to everything, including violin strings, which up to that point is nothing like I didn't told you anything new, right? You try to. I cannot cover the sun. I just made it worse. Yay! How did is this any better? No. Sorry, guys. There is a light here. So, okay, physics. The thing is that when we are playing the violin, we need to put some weight over the string and able to play. Okay, and we are getting to the details of that on the future. But the thing is that if you put like just a little weight, like almost nothing, like you're holding your arm up, and like when you touch the string like the note or like go up, like you can play for Elise with like open string, then that's a terrible, 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 terrible string. Okay, there's like quality tone too, etc. But you know, buy something that don't makes that thing. Okay, so this is a good string, but I try to make the sound that I want you to look for not buying those strings. Like for a little bit, because I put a lot of pressure, it makes right. This one's not doing much. It's hard to listen because it's a good string. Okay, so yeah, make sure the note is always the same, even if you put a lot of weight or if you don't put any weight. Okay, you want that. That's like the minimum of a string. Okay, if you can afford, I do recommend you to buy dominant strings. Okay, is the one I use. They are like the prices vary from shop to shop, but sometimes like this one I bought for around $40, which is a great price. At Robertson's, I know you pay $70, around $70. These two. So the set of dominant plus E string Westminster, which is what I am using currently. Okay, but like this is a really good instrument, really good string. But string is like directly related to your sound, and sound is one of the bases of the violin. Not that like the violin itself is not related, but like strings a little bit more direct interference. So if you can afford this one, I really recommend. Okay, but they also make false strings like of this one. Okay, I bought. My relationship with buying strings online in the United States not the best. My first one got stolen in front of my door. The second one, everything went right, and the last one I bought before summer, it came a false string. So I bought like 3 sets because me and my friend we were like buying together to get like cheaper the delivery, and it was false strings. And the guy was like, "No, I told you correct strings," and he was saying like all this stupid stuff. I bought it by Amazon, and you can give them back if they're not uh, good. Okay, so basically, that thing that like drops the tone of the note was happening with this string. But the thing is that I know this string pretty well, so I know that doesn't happen. So I contact the seller and I was like, "Hey, these strings are wrong. I know how they're supposed to sound like. It's not happening. I want to solve this problem because this is like not fair." And he was like, "Oh, because you use this string, you put these strings on your violin again already, so I can do nothing." And I started like arguing with him. It was like really long conversation, days to solve that. And at some point, I saw that he wasn't like going to help me at all, so I just texted Amazon um, customer service, and they were like, I explained the thing, and they asked me if I had used, and I was like, yeah, I did because I needed to. I didn't knew it was fake strings until when I put on my violin and I started playing. Then I realized it wasn't a real string. You know, the things that like the colors of the string were like a little bit different, but it was so like little difference that I couldn't tell just changing strings. And I'm not like when I change string, I'm like, let me see if the colors like millimeter difference of like vibrance of the color to know if that's the correct string or not. I am trusting that the seller is not being stupid. So that one was. So I contact the customer service, I explained everything. They was like, well, you need to deliver the strings back. It won't be any cost, but we are going to give you your money back. And so I received my money back. I bought new strings at Robertson, but at that point I needed the strings like right away. And yeah, that never happened to me again. I was really afraid when I bought these ones. But yeah, they came correct. So yeah, I can even send you the link of the shop that I bought these ones if you want. Okay, I will put it on Telegram so that you can buy these ones which are good, and you need to change your strings. If you're a beginner, it's 6 months at least. Okay, because they get old, they stop functioning. So around $50 to $70, which I think is a good price, each 6 months. Okay, I will put the link for this shop on the Telegram so you can buy a good string that functions, because that's where I bought mine. And I will also put the link for this one, but I would recommend you to try to find it cheaper. If you live at Albuquerque, go to Robertson's. They do sell it like half the price, but I will put the link for online in case you're not living here. Okay, again, these things that are for United States. If you live in Europe or Asia or Brazil or whatever, um, just look for something that works for you. Okay, that has this like minimum standards. Okay, I really hate this light right here on Twitch, on YouTube. You're not seeing this. Okay, that strings. I need more water. I'm talking too much. I'm supposed to talk. Okay, so violin. Um, On a matching size for you, the bow with good hair, the rosin, okay? Doesn't really matter which rosin you're using as much as you have a rosin. Have some cloth to clean your violin, set of strings, okay? I recommend you, if you can afford it, dominant and E Westminster, okay? Also, do have an extra E string with you all the time, because the E string is going to break at some point, and you will like be in a situation that you're not buying strings for the next 2 months, or you're in a city that don't have shop or don't deliver to that city in like 2 weeks, and you're leaving in like 1 week, and you don't want to stay 1 week without practice the violin. So have an extra E string always, okay? It really happens on the worst possible moments, okay? Next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points are things related directly to your instrument, to the violin, that you cannot do it, okay? So again, there is this guy called Luthier, like Luthier, okay? Is this Italian? I think this is Italian word. Who like builds violins, and they fix violins, okay? For bow is another guy, okay? The luthier is going to fix only the violin, not the bow, okay? So if you need to change the hair, you need to find someone who changed the hair. Usually it's a orchetier, like Archetier, okay? Yeah, but if you buy a violin that don't come with the following 5 points, then so that you can take your violin and just start learning, okay, you need to bring your violin to Luthier, to him, to change those points and make sure that the violin is functioning well, okay? Again, if you buy your violin from HPG Musical, I know they are going to give you a violin that you don't need to worry about these 5 points. Okay. I think, I don't know, I think that Robertson&Sons can sell you a violin that um, has this already set up, okay? But you need to ask them, make sure that they do each one of these 5 points at least, okay? But if you're borrowing your instrument, if you're like renting it from someone else, or from a place, or buying from a place that don't give you these like done, make sure that you deliver your instrument to a luthier, to him to fix those, okay? Parenthesis. A good idea if you're buying your instrument from another person, a person that you do not know, or from not that well viewed shop online, it's easier to talk to a luthier and ask him to see your violin before you actually buy it, if you're like person to person thing. I had a student who made that in Brazil. Like, he was going to buy an instrument. I told him about that. He found an instrument on OLX on the shop of the luthier. So what happened was, he got the violin, like he brought the seller brought the violin, gave the violin to the luthier. The luthier saw the whole instrument, and he was like, okay, this is a good violin for you to begin with. And he was like, you can buy this. This is a good choice for a beginner. So my student bought the instrument. Okay, so if you have that option, I would highly recommend it, especially if you know the luthier is good. Okay, coming back to the 5 points. So the first one is, you want to make sure that the pegs, which are these 4 things here, are functioning well. Okay, what it means, it cannot be too loose, because if it's too loose, the strings won't stay in tune at all. And it cannot be too hard to move, otherwise you won't be able to tune the violin. So there is like a nice balance there, okay? and the luthier is the guy who is going to fix this, so you don't need to know how it functions, like what to do to make this function. I don't personally know exactly what to do to make this like work, but you can ask the luthier to make this work properly. The pegs, okay? So take a piece of paper and write pegs that need to be functioning, okay? Another thing that's really important to be functioning really well is the microtuners. These guys here, okay? They need to be rolling really well to both sides, okay? And make sure they're not. So the way the microtuner works is there is a piece that does this movement, and it has another thing here, which is connected to the string. So when this thing goes down, it pulls the string, which is on this way, like make it tighter. When you make this, it goes that way, so the string get looser. Okay, so a problem that might happen, you want to make sure that's not happen, is that, so what makes this piece move this way to like pull or loose the string is a screw that goes like this on top of this. So you twist the screw and it's going either to push it down or to lose the screw, and the string is going to pull this piece that this way, so it's going up. Okay, so what sometimes happens is that the screw is not pointing exactly to the middle of this piece, so it can go like this to the side of it. Okay, and this of course will not let you tune your violin properly, so make sure that this is functioning well. Okay, in some cases you need to buy another microtuner, but they're not expensive. Okay, and you're a beginner, so make sure that you have 4 microtuners, one in each string. I just have the E string because I know how to tune only using the pegs. Okay, but for a beginner it's really really difficult, to make sure you have 4 microtuners. Okay, so second dot there, microtuner functioning well. Okay, third point, I present to you the bridge. Is this piece here in the middle of the violin, which is really beautiful and looks like a bridge because of its shape, and it needs to be on a specific position. Okay, I will not explain to you which position is that right now. You need to know that it needs to be in the correct position, and it needs to be 90 degrees with of the top of your violin. So the violin like has these holes here. This is the top of the violin, and it needs, like when you look the violin like this, the bridge needs to be 90 degrees with the top of it. Okay, because if you look like this, you're going to see that the shape of it is like this. Okay, so 90 degrees and on the correct spot. Okay, some like bring the violin to the luthier and say, I need the bridge to be on the correct spot. Okay. Another thing that needs to be on the correct spot is the sound post. The sound post is a piece of wood that looks like a pencil that's inside the violin near to the E string, which is the thinner string. Okay, it goes kind of like here, okay, kind of between the A and the E string, but it depends on the instrument, a lot of things. It has, again, specific position, which is different to every instrument, and it's different for a lot of reasons, which I will not enter right now because it's really complicated and you do not need to know this, at least for now. So ask your luthier to make sure that the sound post is on the correct spot. And that's another reason why you don't want to receive your violin without the strings, without the bridge, because with like shaking and like transportation, the sound post will drop. Okay, will drop, and you will like listen a sound of wood like balancing there, and like, oh, what's that? That's your sound post. It's supposed to be here, like against this part of your violin and the back of it. Okay, the purpose of that piece is to make sure that these both parts of the violin, which are the biggest in area, are like moving together, making sure that the sound is good. Okay, so sound post. And the fifth point that the luthier needs to make sure that's functioning well is the top nut. The top nut is a piece that's like right here on the top of the violin. It's really hard to see because it's the same color of the fingerboard, but it's like just a small piece here, okay? And it's the last point that the string touches the violin before the bridge. Okay, so the violin touches the string touches the violin on the pegs. Then it might touch on the sides of the box here. Okay, the pegs box. Then it touches on the top nut. Then it's free to vibrate until the bridge. Okay, and after the bridge, it holds on this piece that I never remember the name, but anyway, the top nut needs to be functioning well. By that, I mean that it needs to be straight. Okay, it needs to be on a height that when your string is vibrating, it's not touching the fingerboard. Okay, otherwise you're going to have annoying sounds, and that's not good. Okay, so make sure that this is functioning well. So 5 points you need to make sure that your violin is like functioning well are the pegs, microtuners, the bridge, the sound post, and the top nut. Okay, if you have those 5 things working properly, okay, in a good shape, it doesn't matter if you're with a Chinese instrument or the Stradivarius, okay, because it's going to work from the minimum level we need to start learning the violin. Okay, so those are the 5 things that you need to make sure are working to you to learn the instrument. Okay, the other things is not that important. Okay, also make sure that your instrument don't have any cracks. It's not going to make that much of a difference in the very beginning of your learning, but if it has a crack, you will need to restore it, and you do not want to buy an instrument that has a crack. Okay, another thing you want to be with your eyes open to is like this wood here and this wood here are glued together, sometimes because of climate changes, a lot of different things, or because the violin like fell or something like that, it might open. So you want to gently tap on the back of the violin all around and the front of it to make sure that your violin has this deep sound. Can you listen to this? If it's like if it's opened, you're going to listen a completely different sound. Okay, then you do not want to buy that instrument. Or if it's borrowed or it's from your family, you need to like bring it to a luthier and say like, hey, I need you to glue this part. Like I'm listening, it's sounding different here. I think it's unglued, so I need you to glue it. It's going to take probably, if he don't have anything to do, which doesn't really happen, it's going to take probably like a day to like put the thing back and like glue it and make sure that's not going to unglue again. And then you have your violin. Okay, there is cracks, don't buy the violin. Okay, look for a violin that don't have any cracks. Important thing there about cracks is when you're buying a really old instrument, okay, a violin that have been used for a long time, sometimes you can see mark of a crack, but that crack have been glued back. Okay, when you restore the violin that way, the sign of the crack doesn't go away, it stays there. So make sure that the crack's not opened. Okay, it's like a whole piece. Okay, that's important. Okay, last point, actually 2 more points to go. My neck's kind of hurting, but give me a second. Something that you will need for sure, and it's really important for your violin, is a case. Okay. This, ladies and gentlemen, it's a violin case. It's not a gun case, it's a violin case. Okay. So it has space for the violin here. Let me take all this cloth out of here. Has space for the violin on this side, has space for bow on the other side, and there is some space here to put some music. Okay, this is very, 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 very important to carry your violin from a place to another, and to make sure that the temperature and the humidity of your violin is not crazy changing. Okay, because we open our violin to play on one day and the humidity is 10%, and if you let it open the whole day, it can change to 30, it can change to 90, it can change to 5%, and that, like, the instrument suffers with that, and that might make the violin crack. Okay, so make sure at the end of your violin practice session, you put your violin back in the case and you close the case. Okay, so that it's like closed, and the temperature and the humidity is not going to change that much. Okay, that's really important. And of course, if you're like going for violin classes in another place, you want to bring the violin on the case and the bow inside the case too. I had a student who appeared in the first class with the bow outside the case, and I was like, what? But you know, there is a way of putting the violin and the bow there. I can show you later. But yeah, make sure that you're like carrying your violin in the case always, because high chances of you dropping or someone hitting your violin somehow, and the case is there to protect your instrument, so it won't break and it won't have any damages. Actually, to have an idea, once my dad was carrying my violin, we were late to take the bus back to home, we were running, and there was a hole on the street. He stepped on the hole and he fell like over the case of my violin. But because my violin was in the case, it didn't suffer anything. If the violin was without the case, I can assure you that the violin would be in pieces. I would need to make a fire of that and buy another violin. So make sure that you have a case to protect your instrument and that you're using it. Okay, please, 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 please. Okay, last but not least, make sure that you're either having private lessons or watching this channel for the next classes. So subscribe, follow me. If you're in YouTube, make sure you're clicking on the bell to make sure that you get the notifications of next classes. Okay, but mainly I'm doing until I need to change because of university, which is not for the this semester. I'm doing live streams like this one, but talking of different topics every Monday, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. So make sure that you're watching the live streams to learn how to play the violin. And these classes are free. I'm not going to charge you anything for this. Okay? So make sure you're here every week to make sure that you're learning how to play the violin. Okay? Okay, guys, that's everything I planned to talk to you guys. I'm getting my neck hurting. So let's get into the question and answers section. If you guys have any questions, which kind of questions do you have? Oh, forgot to talk about this. I'm going to send the link to the Telegram group, okay? I will put the link on the description of the YouTube video. I will put the Telegram group chat, the Telegram group link on my bio as soon as I finish this live stream, okay? So if you go to my bio in like 10 minutes after I'm done with this, you will find the link of my Telegram group there. I will send the link of the strings there. I will send a picture of the notes I made for this live stream there, and I will send both links of Twitch and YouTube there. Okay. Also, I will notify you guys when the next live streams come, which are like the teams we're talking about, and I might ask you questions there and everything else. Okay, so if you're interested in those things, make sure you're clicking on that link to get the notifications. Okay, but most importantly, be here every Monday 4:30 to learn how to play the violin for free. Okay. Hi Kumotara, how are you doing? Okay, we have. So I already answered what happens if the bow spoils, right? You cannot play properly basically because it doesn't respond to you, to what you need to do. So you stop being able to play properly the things that you're supposed to play, okay? So you don't want to spoil the bow. How expensive can a bow be? Depends of the quality of the bow. If you like a cheap bow, I think you can pay um I don't know how expensive a bow in dollars. It can be cheap but not a very good quality, and it can go crazy expensive because of the high quality, okay? And there's tons of things that makes a bow more expensive. The hair that they use makes it more expensive. The hair itself, it costs to me to like change my hair of my the hair of my bow, not this hair, okay? At Robertson&Sons, I think it's like either $60 or $80. Okay, so that's just the hair, not the wood. But which wood it's being used makes a difference on the price. What's this made of? Difference on the price. What's this made of? Makes a difference on the price. What's this made of? Makes a difference on the price. So price increases based on the material they're using and the quality of the bow watch, which is not necessarily linked. Okay, yeah, but the better bows are made of pau Brasil. I do not know how to say that in English, but it's like a wood that's was really common in Brazil in 1500s, and it has like a red color. It was really used, like very used in the past to like um, paint like shirts, clothes, basically. And now it's like protected wood, and it's really good for bows, but not that used anymore because of the laws of protections. Because we don't want to end a species of trees because of bows. Yeah, but there is like tons of other bows that you can use. Okay. Next question, also from Zeman. Lots of beginners. Where to find a looter? Where do you find these people? Okay, let me write this down. So I write first on YouTube. It's Luthier. In Portuguese, we say Luthier. Let me. How do I write it down here? Come on. Okay, whatever. Let's do it the old school way. Okay, so we have no light passing. Luthier. Okay. Luthier. Okay. So that's actually a really good question. And I forgot to talk about that. So thank you for asking. You need to Google it basically. Okay, and there's another problem that some luthiers are really bad. And so it's kind of difficult to know. If you're US citizen, I'm pretty sure Robertson's, like I know they receive violins from like the country to their shop and then they send it back. So you can send your violin here if you need it. But you can Google it too. Okay, and if you're in Europe, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of luthiers there, especially because the art of luthiery started at Europe. Yeah, so you need to Google it or ask people who play music. Like if there's an orchestra in your city, there's high chances of having a luthier at your city or nearby. Okay, because the demand is big. Yeah, but try to find people who play either violin, viola, or cello, because usually they're the same person who works with those three instruments: violin, viola, or cello. Okay, especially violin and viola. Like find those people and ask them like, hey, where do you bring your instrument when it breaks? I'm looking for this guy and I don't know where to look for. I cannot help to put the link of the shops I recommend you to buy instruments. Okay, so if you're from Brazil, HPG Musical, they do send you the instrument without in like already check those 5 points, so you do not need to worry about luthier at all. And from Robertson's, where you can like ask them if they have those points already checked for you, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay. Uh, Again, I do not know if HPG sends instruments to other countries. Okay, and I can send you information of luthiers in Brazil if you're Brazilian, which I do not think is the case. But other than Brazil and Albuquerque, I do not know about luthiers. It's not something that we know about. It's just like we go to a city, we search about it, I do Google or like asking for people, and we find out this luthier. We go there and we like really hope that the guy's not terrible, and after he does his job we can like know if he's good or bad. I just had a bad experience once with a guy that he like glued back my violin and he left a lot of glue outside the instrument, and that was like, you didn't did your job properly. And I never went back to him again. But other than that, I didn't have any bad experiences with luthiers. But I would recommend you to ask people like, hey, what's your opinion about this guy? I have is him where you go to for like fixing your instrument, because there's some of them who you do not want to bring your instrument. Okay, yeah, but that's the most I can help you guys with. Yeah, I will send the link of HPG Musical and Robertson's at the Telegram group. I'm going to send you the contacts of luthiers from Brazil that I know and I trust at. They are two. um, one in São Paulo and one in Brasilia, the capital. But that's as much as I can give you guys this for. What happens? Oh wait, how am I? I'm pretty good, just with my neck hurting a little bit because I'm talking for like an hour and a half nonstop. What happens if you don't know anyone who would be of good advice where I am, for example? Then you will need to trust luck, basically. I would look for a shop that's kind of big nearby. Where are you from again? To begin with, let me see if I can help you in a more specific way. But you can look for like a violin shop that's kind of big, um, because if they're big, they kind of have a name, so it's more like reliable. And you can ask if they have luthier, and if they do, you can send your violin there. Okay. If you're shipping your instrument, make sure that you put a lot of plastic, bubble plastic, that one that has like a lot of bubbles and you can like press them. Okay. And yeah, and so that they won't like break your instrument when they're shipping. And make sure that you put that's fragile. Okay, so they will have an extra care for her instrument, supposedly. Oh, you live in UK. Okay, let's do this. I do have a friend who lives in UK. I do know there is like huge things at UK for music. Okay, there's like BBC orchestra. Do you know? Can you tell me which city you live in UK? I can ask my friend if he knows any shops or luthiers there, and I can tell you. But I don't live in a big city. Yeah, so if there is no luthier in your city, the better option will be sending it to a big city, or if you go to a big city that has a luthier, bring your violin and ask him um, to fix it. Okay, but I will ask my friend the things that he takes a long time to answer because he's really busy with Instagram. But I will ask him if he knows any luthiers on UK. I'm pretty sure he does. The only problem is that he plays the bass. But I will ask him for remember me on the next live stream, okay? I will ask him right now. Okay, guys, do you have any other questions? I'm opening my Instagram to text my friend. Okay, I'll send him an audio, okay? Fala, Marcos. Então, cara, eu tô fazendo uma live stream aqui, e aí tem um cara que tá querendo aprender violino, e ele tá procurando luthier em UK. Só que eu não conheço nenhum. Tu pode me falar alguém que você conheça, que você confia? Ele falou que é de uma cidade pequena, e eu não sei perto de onde ele mora, mas enfim, se você tiver conhecimento aí de luthiers de violino e puder me passar, agradeço demais. He's Brazilian, so that's why I'm talking Portuguese. So if you understand Portuguese, you understood what I say. But yeah, I'm basically asking him for like sending me like people who are luthier in the UK. I don't know which city you're like close to, but I will let you guys know. Keep asking me that question, okay? I will actually. I think I would do a question on Instagram, like which luthier you recommend and which city you are from, so I can post that and you guys can like screenshot it and like see if it's close to you guys too. That's another thing you can do. Okay. What strings do I use? I use dominant strings. This one. Again, I'm sending the link of these strings on Telegram. Okay. So I use these strings. I use the G and A string from this set, and I use E string from Westminster. Okay, I really like this string, they're really cheap. And it's the strings that I recommend you to use if you can. Do you guys have any other questions? Let me put the link of the Telegram group at my bio. And it will be on the description of YouTube video, okay? Oh, actually, this is the QR code if you want to join. I don't know if this works, but if you point your camera to my screen right now, you should be able to go to the Telegram group. Okay. Same goes with YouTube. I will look for those when I get some next. Thank you, Vida. Sure. No problem at all. But I am going to put the link at the Telegram, the Twitch bio, and the description of this video on YouTube. Okay. Okay, guys. If you guys don't have any questions, I'll be done for the day. I'll send the link for the strings, the names of the luthiers, and the shop links, Robertson and HPG Musical, for the Telegram group with a picture of my notes for this live stream. If you have any questions, you can always DM me. I will open a question box on my Instagram, which is also links on the description on YouTube and on my bio at Twitch. So you can ask me whatever other questions that you want me to ask about today. Other things about the violin, okay? And I was super happy to answer you guys. But that was it. If you enjoyed this live stream for today, consider following me. I do live streams like this one every 30 p.m. and stream my practicing at Twitch. I'm trying to do it every day at mornings. I'm not being able to do that yet, but I'm going to. Yeah, and that's it. I hope you guys have a great day, evening, morning, whatever you are, depending on where you are in the world. And I will see you guys on the next live stream or next Monday. Have a great day. Bye bye.